Hello, everyone. My name is Brent. I'm the IT coordinator here at the library, and we're going to do an intro to Google Sheets. So this is really it's really just an intro to spreadsheets in general, because Google Sheets and Excel spreadsheets and probably other ones are all operate very similarly. So I'll sort of start with just some vocabulary and just sort of showing you around a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is basically kind of build a hypothetical spreadsheet, trying to incorporate a bunch of different features that I could think of. So that's really the format of this. I'm sort of assuming that you're not trying to follow along and do every little thing I'm doing. You're just going to kind of watch and listen, and then maybe you can watch the recording later if you want to go back and try things that you didn't quite catch. If I'm going too fast, if you want me to slow down or stop, or if you want to ask questions, feel free at any time. Let's see, and I'll try to continue to narrate while I'm doing it, so you can see what I'm doing, and I'll try to avoid using the keyboard for shortcuts, which is my habit, since you can't see that. All right, and feel free to put stuff in the chat, because Stacy's going to watch that and let me know. Any questions? I'm going to start to share my screen here in a minute, but if you can go ahead and if you have any questions or comments. Well, we wanted to sort of ask if anybody wanted to share what your interest in Sheets are, in Google Sheets or just spreadsheets in general. Do you have a particular project or anything in particular you want to tell us why you are interested in this? Speak up, please.
Well, I talked to Stacy about this before I actually signed up. I use Apple, so I use numbers. And so, but I used to use Excel when I was in the world. So I'm kind of trying to just teach myself all the new stuff that happens with spreadsheets all the time. So this is sort of a refresher class for me, I guess, but maybe I'll learn something new too.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see, and in the chat, someone is mostly familiar with Excel and wanted to learn how to use this instead. This is a free alternative to Excel, so it makes a lot of sense. If you don't still have access to Excel right now. Let's see, there was another chat. Same kind of thing, yep. So I think if you already know Excel, a lot of this will seem familiar.
Okay, so this is the beginning of Google Sheets, sort of where you start from. So I'm just going to click on Start a New Spreadsheet. And this should look pretty familiar, the familiar grid with rows and columns here. I'm going to go ahead and title this, give it a title. So this is a hypothetical quilt project that I'm going to be working on, so I'm going to call it that. And one thing to note is different than Excel or other ones is with Google Sheets, everything is just saved as you go. So you don't have to kind of continually hit save or remember to save it somewhere. So here's my first sheet. I'm going to go back to where we just were, the intro page, and you can see that my quilt project is here from today. So I'm going to go ahead and click that back into it. All right, just a few things which if you've used other spreadsheets, this might be really familiar, but I'll just make sure, we have, these are obviously called columns along here, lettered, named for her letters, and then rows. Each one of the blocks is a cell. Each cell has a reference, sort of like an address, and that's up here. It's using its column, letter, and its number. D7 is this cell, and so every cell on the sheet will have a reference. In addition to that, so when you talk about contiguous cells, a group of cells that are together, we usually call that a range of cells, and a range will also have sort of a reference, and you can see that up here as well. So that's really just naming the top left cell down to the bottom right cell, using a colon in between. C7 colon D12 is this range here. Let's see what else. So each cell, if you type a number in, let's say, into this cell now has a value of 50, but each cell can actually have multiple sort of information in it. So in this case, all we have is a value, but if we change it a little bit up here in the formula bar and make it a formula, it now has a value of 50 and the formula is this. That's not a very interesting formula, so let's do something a little bit different. Oops, something I always. So we'll just do a formula that sums these four things, this range, I guess. So we're going to put the sum down here. So instead of equals 50, I'm going to type in equals sum with the parentheses, and then we're going to use our named range we just talked about. If we use, what I'm doing is highlighting the range and it'll fill it in for me. So we're summing D3 through D6. I'm going to type enter to accept it. And now you can see we have the sum. So here we have the value, the 10, and up here we have the formula behind it. Okay. In addition to the value, we also can have a number format. All right, so let's look at the number formats. Usually it tries to guess what kind of format you want, but we can give it a percentage, for example, or perhaps it really represents more of a currency. You can change the way it displays in the cell that way. Behind it, the value is still 10, and the formula is this. All right. In addition to that, so we have the value, we have the formula, we have the number format. We can also give it other kinds of formatting as well, like bold or that sort of thing. A cell can also have a note in it. Okay. And then if you move that cell around, typically you'll move those things with it. So you can see that I moved this cell somewhere else, but it's still summing the same range that we started with. All right, any questions so far? That's just a little beginner intro to sort of the vocabulary of spreadsheets. Oh, go ahead.
Yep. Did you right click to add the note?
The note, yes, I'm right clicking to get this this pop-up menu here.
Okay. And question 2, where is it saved automatically?
The note or the
spreadsheet.
Spreadsheet. I think it tends to save it in your Google Documents. So
Google Drive.
Yeah, so sorry, you don't
jump
mind.
in. Absolutely.
Yeah, so if you have a Google account set up, which you can set up for free, then if you make a spreadsheet on Sheet, you'll find it either by going to sheets.google.com and you'll see that page that Brent showed us earlier when he clicked on the green document. But it also would show up in your Google Drive as one of your documents. So depending how you like to approach it, if you know you're looking for a spreadsheet you made, you can go straight to Sheets. If you can't remember what you made, then you can start in Drive.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
When you were putting that that sum
Yes,
in, I think it was number 10 of doing the cells above, you used a parentheses in that.
yes.
Is that something that you need to do?
Yeah, almost all the formulas reference something, and usually the parentheses will have what we call parameters, what we're working with for that formula. Here's some of the formulas over here. So, if you're doing an average, the average has a parentheses as well. Almost everything you're doing is operating on some information, and usually you put the information into the parentheses. In this case, this would take the minimum number of a range that you specified.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Okay.
My guess is that if you forgot to do the parentheses, you would tell right away that it hadn't worked.
Brent or Stacy, do you, this will automatically save what you're changing, but how can you make sure that you have a copy of your original on your computer?
Okay, that's a good question. So one thing you can do is you can go over here and
Make a copy?
download. Here we go. So you can download a version in various formats. I'll download one here in Excel. And you can see, I don't know, can you see the bottom here that downloaded a copy of an Excel spreadsheet into my downloads folder?
Okay. Will that show up on your Google Drive then?
That one, so I think that one would show up on your actual PC or whatever the device you're working on.
Okay.
But you can also make a copy. I think that's probably what this make a copy is. I've never used this.
Well, that's one I've been using. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so that would, I think that what you're talking about perhaps is, as you're going, you may want to save snapshots as you go in case you want to revert back to, one version that you're going. So this would be a way of doing that.
I'm using these for financial sheets and I want to keep what I already had before and then I keep changing it,
Okay, so like build on something you had.
Right.
All right, so here you can see that I did use the copy and now we're operating on that copy.
Okay.
All right. And just to finish, the naming and stuff, most of you, I'm sure, are aware that the sheets are down here. You can have multiple sheets within a single document. So I'm going to call this one materials. I'll make a new sheet by clicking on this add sheet button on the bottom left. We'll call that one to-do list, maybe, tasks. And then I'll do one that has an image. Maybe we'll have an image of what we want the quilt to look like or something like that. All right, so you can switch back and forth between your sheets. All right, go ahead and keep sending me questions. I'm just going to kind of start building things here a little bit, typing a few things in. What I'm going to do is try to figure out how much of this is going to cost me for all these materials. One thing I'm going to do is import some information. So I have a list of materials just in a text document. So just like Excel, you can actually import information. Here is, I think this is what I'm looking for. All right, so I'm importing a file. This is basically a list of stuff. Unfortunately, I typed in this create a new spreadsheet. What I really wanted to do was append to the replace data at the current cell because I want it to be right here. I'm going to just do it again. Okay, so as you can see, it just kind of imported some information where you want. All right. Go ahead and make this bold at the top. Heading. All right, so I'm just going to make up some prices for, I have no idea how much fabric tends to cost. These are yards. We probably don't need, this is just a square, so I'm not going to need that much. Price is $10 a yard. This one, I'm going to need only 1 yard of this one, and $3 a yard, and 3 yards of this pattern at $5. Binding fabric, that's sort of the backing of the quilt. That's going to be five yards of that. Any of your quilters, you're thinking this doesn't make any sense. Batting comes by the bag. Okay, so we just need 1 bag of that. All right, I'll fill this in more later, but I'm going to show you one thing that's kind of nice. In Excel, they call it fill down. They call it something else in Google Sheets, but it's basically this little box here. You can use that to copy something down, okay? So you just grab the blue box and drag it down, and it'll copy what's in the top down to the bottom, which is kind of nice, okay? Over here, the price, let's do the number format we talked about earlier. I'm gonna go to the format menu, choose number, and choose currency. All right. For the extended price, what we're going to do is do a formula so that we add or multiply the quantity by the price. So I'm going to use the cell reference here. This is, I wonder if it'll just, so I'm just going to click on it and it kind of figures out the cell reference that I was looking for. And now I'm going to type in a multiplier, the times using the asterisk, and then I'm going to multiply it by the price per yard. And then I'm going to type enter to get that. So 2 yards at $20, $10 equals 20. Interestingly here, I've never seen this. This is a kind of an add-on for Google Sheets. It's sort of suggesting that maybe I want to go ahead and do this all the way down. So let's go ahead and go for that. Now let's done. I was going to show you this fill down. If you use the same fill down as we did before, what it's going to do is fill down not $20, but it's going to fill this formula up here all the way down. All right. And if you look here in the formula, you can see that it basically tries to guess which values you want. So up here, we're multiplying the column C by the column E in the same row, and that's what it figured out here. C4 times E4 and so on all the way down. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's see, let's fill in some more prices. I'm just kind of making things up. Quilting frame is obviously going to be more than that. All right. I'm going to put this here. So when you want to move a cell from one place to another, you kind of, so you can move a cell or you can move a range. So if you're moving a cell, you put the cursor on the edge of the area that you want to move until you get that hand signal, and then you can move it around. So I'm going to move it down. All right, and you can see that when he moved it down, this formula got messed up. It's not sure what I was trying to do there. So we're going to fix that. C12 times D12. I'm just typing it in now, D12. Oh no, we wanted E12, right? All right.
Yeah, and before you move on, there's a question in the chat.
Yeah.
That $4 looks different.
That $4 is, remember we were earlier where I was messing around, I was formatting it. And it's different because it has this, this note here. So I'm gonna take the note out. Whoops. I took the, I messed up. Maybe you can't do it that way. Clear notes. There we go. All right. So some of these kind of got messed up. I'm just gonna, and this one's obviously still not right, E12. I'm just going to do this again. Place it. All right. Oh, this problem is we don't have any quantity. We only need one frame, one spool of thread, one mat, one ruler, one cutter, one magnifier. All right, let's see. So I'm going to kind of continue on with formulas. Actually, let's do sort of a subtotal of the fabric. So what I'm going to do is insert a row along here because I want to put a subtotal row in. So I'm going to, so there's a couple different ways. You can click on it here and go to the menu there, insert. Row above. Or we can right click on the row and get this sorry, I'm going to highlight the whole row, right click on that row and insert one row above. All right, so whenever you want to insert something, you can sort of insert above or below, or if it's a column to the left or right. All right, so let's do a subtotal here. I'm going to use, they have some buttons over here for formulas that kind of make it a little bit easier. So I'm going to click on the sum. And it's sort of guessing that I want to sum these and add their product at the bottom. Or I guess it wouldn't be the product, it would be the total of those. So here we have a $78. This is going to be our subtotal of fabric cost. Okay. And we'll go ahead and make this bold. All right. And then we'll do a subtotal for other stuff. Tools, maybe. All right. Batting is sort of in between. I'm not sure where to put that, but we're going to call it a tool for now. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use the shortcut. So I could either type in equals sum, and then once you put your cursor in the middle, you can drag it and tell it the range you want. All right. Or I could have highlighted this, the area I want, and then click the sum button up here, sort of a shortcut to have it guess. All right, let's go ahead and bold this. All right. And we'll do a grand total, perhaps, for all materials. And here we're going to sum this one plus, no, let's see. How would I do that? I think it's a comma. Let's see if that works. All right. So what I did there was you don't have to only sum things that are together. You can sum cells from wherever they are. So here I'm summing F7 and F50. All right, we'll make that bold. Let's go ahead and make it a little bit larger since it's a grand total. All right. How are we doing? I can't see anybody, so I can't tell. I'm connecting here. All right, let's do a little bit more. Maybe we should do a little bit of formatting here. It's just kind of more fun, you know. Highlight this and let's let's put some borders and stuff. I always like to do borders. So here's a borders button. You click on this and then you can choose which border. So this would basically put borders around all the cells. But let's just start with one around the outside. But I do want this one set aside a little bit. So I'm going to do border on the bottom of that one. All right. And this is the fill. Let's fill it with a little bit of, let's set it off a little bit there. We'll do our fabric zone a different color just for fun. And then tools area. This is where you kind of get in the weeds. You start formatting. Okay, that's not good. And you spend all your time formatting, and then you never get to the other stuff. All right. So, what about let's do this percent of total. So, so percent of total. Somebody might have to help me out. So equals. So we want to know how much 20 out of the subtotal is going to be, right? So we're going to click on that. Or I'm going to use the / for division and choose the total. So that's gives me a fraction. How much the pattern 1 out of all my fabric is going to be. All right. So 0.2. I don't really like that. Let's make it a percent though. Format. We want number format and call it a percent. All right, does that seem about right? 20 is about a quarter of the whole fabric cost. Again, we can drag that down. Uh-oh. What did I do wrong? So.
Also, one of them is 250. Yeah.
Okay, so it didn't work it out. So we had to fix everything. So oh, I see. So I was trying to guess what the, what do we call the divisor, the bottom one. So we're gonna have to go back and fix that. Really what we want is F7 for each one of these. There we go. Not F9, F7. I'm clicking enter to accept it. So this is the percent of these. So we can do the same thing. This would make more sense to get a total of the overall cost. So we'll do equals this / for the division sign, and then adds the grand total and click enter. Let's just go ahead and make all these percent. Format number. So fabric is about half the whole cost of the whole project. Okay. Let's see, what else can we do?
There was a question in the chat
Yeah.
asking if you could review each of the functions or buttons across the top of the page, the drop downs.
All these or
I assume it's the file edit ones,
the
but
menus?
Barbara, correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Let's start with that.
Okay, so the file menu is really just for doing things for their whole document typically. And so, making a new spreadsheet or doing something with your document. So there's quite a few different things. I don't know if we want to go through all of these. A lot of your edit functions, of course, are under edit. So if you're copying or pasting anything, down here, it looks like it's sort of guessing things that you might want to edit. Find and replace, maybe we should try to use that later. So the view, obviously, that changes sort of how the spreadsheet looks to you. So we can turn the grid lines off there. You can see the cell grid lines are gone. Protected ranges, we don't have any of those right now. So a range, so we talked about a range. So for example, this range here is the fabric. So let's go ahead and name that range. I think you can do it just like up here. And I'm just going to click enter or tap enter to accept that. All right, so now we can do anything we want with this named range fabric. So for example, I guess it would make more sense if you can actually use these named ranges in a formula instead of a range reference. So maybe it would make more sense to name this range, which would be I don't know, fabric costs maybe. So if you were going to use these numbers in a formula over here, the list will just be, we won't keep this. So I'm going to do sum with the parentheses, and inside there, instead of using the cell range reference, we can just put in fabric costs, the name of it, and so you can see it's sort of showing you what it thinks is that range, that named range there. Click enter, and we're getting the same value for that. So those are named ranges. And so that what took us there was these protected ranges. I'm not sure what that means, to be honest. I think that you can probably set up certain ranges and make sure you don't actually delete them or edit them or something like that. Somebody might have to Google that while we're working and tell us later. Show formulas, that's where, typically when you're looking at, these things that shows you the values, but there may be a circumstance where you're trying to figure out what's wrong with the formulas, you want to see the formulas instead. So you can see it change that. You wouldn't normally use that very often. Zoom, which is also right here on the bar. You can zoom in a little bit. Ooh, that looks better to me. Okay, let's zoom back off. This one's kind of, okay, while we're over here in this left-hand area, I know that we're going through these menus, but let's look at this paint format because I love it. So this paint format, basically what it will do is you can take it and it'll sort of copy the format of one area. So I've highlighted the fabric area, click that paint, and then you can paint that somewhere else over there. So anyway, I use that all the time. Insert, if you're going to insert something into the spreadsheet, whether it's columns or cells, this is what this is for. Functions here is another place you can get to the functions. It's basically the same as that over there. I'm not going to go through each one of those. Formatting, this is sort of, there's number formatting, we talked about that. That sort of just formats the number itself, but they can also format the cell in terms of how it looks, the text and the colors and sort of thing. This data is a little bit more of an advanced thing. Typically, these are sort of, pivot table is a really powerful tool, but that's really hard to use. I'm not going to try to get into that. Basically, you can take more complicated data and use the spreadsheet to sort of analyze it. Name ranges, we just talked about that. So if you click on named ranges, it sort of shows you your ranges over here. We have two fabrics and fabric costs. Some of these things I haven't used. Slicer, I don't know what that is. We could try that later and see what that is. Split text into columns. Sometimes I use that one. Maybe we'll try that one right now. So let's say you have a series of names. Okay, in a somewhere, like maybe you copied that from somewhere. I'm going to copy that. So let's say, no, we were going to take it and split text to columns. All right, so it's asking me what, oh, it sort of figured out that I had separated them by commas and then put each one into its own column. That's kind of nice if you're copying and pasting a big list from somewhere and you really want them to be in columns instead of just a one cell. So there's a few more down here. Let me show you, well, no, I'll finish this thought. So tools, I have not messed with the tools much. I'm not sure exactly what these do. These are more specific to Google Sheets. Macros tend to be sort of like tasks that automate a series of things that you want to do. So you can sort of record a macro where you maybe do 10 steps and then name it and then do it again, and then you can do it whenever you want to. So I've never used macros much. So these, I've never messed with add-ons for Google Sheets either. So that's a little bit beyond the scope of this class, though, I think. So there is another thing, let's see this, I wanted to show you, which is grouping cells, which is kind of fun. So instead of material list here, really, this is more like description. So here, this material list, you can actually combine cells by grouping them, I think it's called. Is that what it's called? Now I can't find it. Merge, it's called merge cells. So what I've done, let's back up again. I want to merge this whole line into one big cell. Okay, so now we just have one cell, and I can use I could center it. So now it's just in the middle of this whole thing. We can merge these, just to give you an idea.
And merging cells is usually just decorative, or is there a functional reason to do it?
I use it for formatting more than anything.
Yeah.
I can't think of one off the top of my head. I mean functional use. All right. I'm trying to work in different things here. Oh, let's see. Here's some more formatting things. So the percentages is a little bit more detailed than I wanted to. The decimal point, you have 2 decimal points. So I'm going to use this decreased decimal point thing, bring that down. I assume we can do this on all the cells at once. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Oh, we have this link here. So what I'm going to so I also want to insert some images. I saw how to do that. So I'm going to insert a column here to the left of H for images. So I'm right clicking on here and insert one left. All right. So I have found, hold on a second, I can't see it because I have a couple images here of fabrics. And I'm going to take the URL for this one, copy it. Sorry, I should copy it. And over here in this image, I'm going to insert image into the cell. And here it gives you a bunch of options. So if I had the image on my desktop or device, I would use this one. I'm going to use by URL and paste that in. Okay. Let's remove the background on that one. It's hard to see. Doesn't really do much. It's so tiny. But we'll do it anyway. Okay, so the URL. This is interesting. I have two tabs open with the same thing. Insert. I guess you have to go over here. Insert image by URL. Paste it. Okay. All right, so also I could put the link in case I want to get to it later. So here I'm going to insert link. So actually that's the wrong one. So I want this is the one that's I have copied. Insert link. I'm pasting here. Okay, so this is a big long link. And I'm just going to pretend that this is a link to the Joanne fabric site, even though it's not really. All right. So here, if I want to get back and see that again later, so later when I go to order the fabric, I can use that link. This is at a different site, homespun fabric site. So if I want to go there, I can right click, choose open new tab, and I can go see it later. All right.
Would you show us how to expand the I column to fit all those words?
Yeah, great. What you do is just hover over, with your mouse, you hover over the division line between there. You can see it gives you these arrows. Just drag it to the right. It's a great idea. And here we don't need one so big for the image. Similarly.
In Excel, people might be used to this. In Excel, if you double click the right side, it'll automatically size it as big as it needs to be. I don't remember if Sheets does that or not.
Let's try it. So I don't know that trick. So you just double click right here.
Yeah, you might have to hide them, but yeah, that looks good.
Nice. Didn't know that one. I'm gonna shrink that one down. Okay. So we're at 7:45. I've been through quite a few different. Oh, here's this. Before I stop and ask for other ideas, this text wrapping is kind of a good thing to know about. So we just talked about the cells that were too small for the content. So let's say you have, a long bit of content. So typically, by default, as long as there's nothing to the right of it, it'll try to display it all the way across. But if you put something there, then it will hide it. So you can kind of change how you want that behavior to be. This is another sort of view thing, if you find it there, but I know that's here. So this is overflow, text wrap. So it'll actually wrap all the text and make the whole row bigger. And then there's clip. So this will clip it even if there's nothing here. I don't know if that makes any sense. that governs how things look when the text is too big for the cell. All right. I could do a little bit of sorting. I was going to do a little bit of sorting thing, but maybe I'll stop and just ask for suggestions.
There were 2 chat comments about how to share the document and make edits together, but I feel like sorting should come before that point.
Okay.
Are there other questions people have? You can chat or you can unmute yourself. Either way is good.
So if you've done sorting before, in Excel, the operations is the same. It's a little bit different menu thing. So let's just, let's do our to-do task. So, let's see, I guess it should be pick out. All right, so I don't really know what all the tasks should be, but piece together at the top, I guess, is one of them. So these are out of order. So we'll assign the order. So I'm kind of guessing at. All right, so if you want to, so we're going to highlight the area that we want to sort. And then I just did this a little while ago, but now I don't remember where it is. It was, okay, sort range, here we go. Under data. All right, here it gives us a little window, making sure, giving us some options. Ours does not have a header row. If you select that, what it'll do is it'll just, reduce the range by 1 column. So we'll take that back out. And then it gives you options about how you want to sort it, obviously. Okay. You could sort by multiple columns. All right. So that works pretty much as you would expect. So we can obviously sort it again by column B instead. Alphabetical, I guess. Stacey, can you think of anything like kind of basic sheet things like that we should cover?
I feel like that covers the main things I can think of. What about the rest of you? Was there anything that you were hoping to hear about that you haven't yet?
Okay, we'll move on to the share thing. Since that's sort of like, core to Google Sheets. All right, so as you can see, currently this is only my sheet, only I can see it. All right, so there's a couple different ways that you can share things. Typically, so I'm just going to add in somebody, and let's say I want to share it with Jen. I can send her a little message. The question is, will Jen be able to look at it, or will she actually be able to change it? So here's where your settings are. So we made her an editor, but you could make her a viewer instead. So she can see the sheet, but she won't be able to actually do anything. Commenter. Viewers and commenters can see the option to download print copy. Okay. So a commenter, I believe, and maybe Stacy, you can help me out here. I believe you can add comments throughout the sheet. For example, in some situation, if we made her a commenter, she could go through and put some comments on different parts, like this formula doesn't look right, it's not adding properly. Please redo it, print, or something like that. Okay, so that's how you can change what their permissions are. Okay, and then you would send it to them and send it to the link via email. All right, so there's also this link option where instead you can send people the link, and whoever you send the link will be able to open it. So in this case, we're getting this link, and you can send it to whoever you want. You can just open an email in a different window and send them this link, and anyone who gets that link will be able to view the sheet. And then you can also, again, change the permissions there, depending on what you want people to do with the link.
So if the people you wanted to share with don't have Gmail email addresses, then sending them the link would make sense.
Exactly, thank you. It's a little bit subtle, these two options. This one emails it right from Google Sheets to people who have Google email addresses. This one is a way of sending it to other people, and you can format the email however you want, or you can, however you want to do it. Does that seem clear?
So if the question is about what it's like to share, so if Brent has sent this this link out, and if it has the permission that people can make edits, then if you left your Google Sheet open and other people were working on it, you should see it sort of change in front of you when they make a change. It should be almost immediate. I think you might also be able to see a little history of who made changes, or along the top where his little eye is, you might be able to see other icons of people who are currently looking at it. So if that's something you plan to do a lot, you could look that up, or you could experiment with a friend and see how you can tell exactly what's going on.
Stacy or Brent, if comments are made, how do you erase the comments?
That's a good question. I'm not sure if the comments take the form of the notes that Brent showed us earlier, or if it's separate.
I think it's a little bit different. So let's add a comment and see what it looks like. Okay. Okay, so this comments button is what kind of opens up the comments.
Yeah. Can you eliminate them? Oh, can you eliminate them all the comments then?
Stacey, do you want to look that up while we're talking here? I'm not sure. That's a great question. I do know that you can kind of resolve them.
So I'm just looking at some brief instructions. It says, click on the comment that you want to edit or delete, click more, and then there's an edit or delete option. I don't know if you see that.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's a delete for that one.
So if you shared it too widely or with someone who didn't share your vision, get rid of those comments.
I think Graham wanted to know if you could delete them all in one thing. Can't tell that for sure. That one deleted the whole thread because there was sort of like if someone were commenting about one thing.
Okay, so it says you can select all of the cells that have comment or the entire sheet. And then it says Alt E will edit, and then Alt L will clear the notes. That might be a little confusing.
Just clear the notes there, Stacy.
Well, notes are different than comments, so
Okay,
Yeah. Well, the instructions say that's for deleting comments.
maybe they're considered a kind of comment.
Yeah.
this would be more in relationship to documents because they made a number of comments, but I don't know how to get the comments off.
I guess there's not an option under the little comment speech bubble. You
Let's
probably,
insert a couple comments.
so it looks like the comments put a yellow triangle in the corner and the notes had a different color of triangle, right?
Yeah, it was black. So if you go here, I don't think you can do it through there.
Okay,
I guess if you're planning to share it so that people aren't editing, but people are commenting, and you think you want a clean copy, maybe that's a time to make a copy and let them make comments on the copy so that you don't
okay.
click through on each one and delete each comment.
You can't answer that one, Graham.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Okay, if there's nothing else, maybe we should wrap it up.
Yep, I don't see any other comments in the chat. Any last questions? What we normally do is you'll get an email from me tomorrow. They'll have a survey and a link to the recording. And if any questions come up, either between now and then or later as you're working on it, please just email us and we'll see if we can give you a hand. It's also a thing to just do a Google search for if you're trying to figure out how to do a specific action or you can't understand anything. I just did, my searches were, delete comments in Google Sheets, and it gave me answers right away. So we can help you with that, or it should be easy to find help online.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to stop the recording.
Thanks for attending, everyone.